Welcome to RidgeLife. I'm Tim, and today we're going to be changing the brakes on our Ford F-250. All right. My finger. I know a lot of you change your own brakes. You've done it for years, but some of you may have just gotten your F-250, and this is the first time you're thinking about changing your brake pads, and it can be a little daunting. So we're going to show you how to do that quick and easy today here on Ridge, and we're going to be using Wagner TQ brake pads. Now these are American-made, lifetime warranty brake pads. They're going to last us a long time. We checked the front brakes and they were good. They were at least half the life left on them. Now let's go ahead and get the back brakes. I'm pretty sure we need to change these. This vehicle's got 124,000 miles on it, and this is the original rear brakes. So we're going to be changing these out today. First thing we're going to do is take our 5/8 socket and take out these caliper bolts right here. Now they're on slides, these little spring slides, and that helps everything self-adjust. So I got a breaker bar here. We're going to take these off. There we go. Breaker bars really help loosen everything up. So if you want to invest in one, you're really going to like it. So we got those loose now. We should be able to get to our brake pads. These are just small bolts here. Let's put these off to the side. Pulling those out should allow us to easily slide our caliper off. All right. My finger. Once you have your caliper off, you want a place to sit it. You don't want it hanging from its hose. So usually what I do is get a jack stand, set that up, and just set your caliper right on that jack stand. Now we're going to check our brake pads out. These are right here, and you can see the slotted brake pads. Brakes usually wear more on the inside than they do the outside. Now your front brakes also wear a lot quicker than your rear brakes. So 120,000 miles on these brakes. Rotors look pretty good. They're not grooved. You see, we're not down to the wear indicator where they're squealing all the time. So we're gonna go ahead and change these pads up because they are getting pretty close on the inside of that pad. We'll go ahead and take off this outside pad. Get a little screwdriver with some tape on it and just slide it off. Just slide it straight out. There we go. And you can see this pad still had decent life left on it, but we're gonna go ahead and change these out. Get the inside pad off. Again, I slowly sliding it out. There we go. Again, less pad left on the inside. You can see we're almost down to the slotted groove there in the center. I want to feel my rotors on the inside and out. Nothing's grooved. Everything's nice and smooth. If they were grooved, I would have to go ahead and change these rotors out. Now these are original rotors, and this is actually the first pad change, so I think we're good. You can get 2 to 3 pad changes depending on how low you let your pads go. If you started getting into your rotor and it started sliding it and grooving it, you want to get them turned, and you can usually turn them on some rotors twice depending on the thickness of the rotor. Whoever you take them to get them turned will tell you if they're too thin or not. But you can turn them, which means you're resurfacing the rotor, or you can just get new rotors and change them out. One thing you want to look at are these slides right here. See if they're free. If they're stuck or gummed up, they can cause uneven brake pad wear, and they can also cause that terrible noise you hear in your brakes when they start to wear on one side more than the other and get down to the wear indicator. These are nice and smooth, nice and free. Before I take my clips off there, I want to take a clean rag and just wipe everything down, get it all cleaned up, and then we'll take these clips out. And we're going to also clean up the surfaces. Then we're going to grease everything. You use brake grease, lubricate any place that the brake pad is going to touch metal. That'll keep it nice and quiet. We have 4 clips that the brake pad sets in. Again, I'm going to lubricate the surface it sets in, and I'm going to lubricate the surface that the brake sets in. But these clips are not exactly all the same. I'm going to pull the first one out here, pull that out, and you can see that this wing here is a little bit more angled out than this wing here. So you can see it was in just like this. And then we're going to install the new clip in the same orientation. Take the bottom clip out. Again, it came straight up. You can see the same thing here with these wings. This is the orientation it was in. I'll set it down so I can know exactly which way the new ones go in. Do the same thing on the inside. Pull it out. Same thing with the wings. Set it down. Same thing on this side. Pull it out. You see the wings? Set it down. Get that cleaned up really nicely. Got my brake grease. Just put a little bit on my finger there. I'm gonna put it just inside all of these surfaces where that clip is gonna touch. Just a light coating. Same thing on the bottom. That keeps the noise, the squeaking, those squeals down. You keep that lubricated nicely. Now we're gonna take a little more grease and put it on the inside surfaces. This is where that brake pad's gonna sit. So we're gonna make sure we get it nice and lubricated. And again, just keeps the sound down. Everything touching, moving freely. You don't want much. We compare the new brake pad and the old brake pad. You can see there was significant difference. We still have a lot left on this one, but we'll go ahead and get the new ones put on here. I don't want to touch the surface of the pad to get any oils or anything on it. I want to make sure I'm always touching the backside surface, and this is what we're going to lubricate. So now we're going to lubricate the backside. Again, it doesn't take much. We just want to get an even surface all the way around. Even coating, I should say. Now the ends of the pad, there's what sits in those clips, so I'm going to put a little lubrication on those as well. Now we're going to put our brake pad in its holder. Again, we just get it right in there. It's going to slide all the way in, and make sure you get your brake surface facing your rotor. I have made the mistake before. Yes, I know it's funny and it's hard to believe. I put the pads in backwards where the metal surface was facing the rotor. And when you go to bed your brake pads, we'll talk about that in a little bit, it makes a terrible noise and doesn't make the pads last very long. All right, got them both inserted. Now we're going to take our caliper and get the pistons contracted down so we can get the caliper back over the new pads, because they're much thicker than how the old pads were when we pulled them off, so the calipers won't fit back over unless we get those pistons retracted. What I want to do now is take my piston and then get an old brake pad, put it right in here. Now with the old brake pad across there, I can get a clamp, start clamping that down, and we'll make those pistons retract. Once I've got the clamp on there, I can slowly start to retract the pistons. Now, if you take your brake master cylinder under your hood and take the cap off, that'll help relieve the pressure and for the fluid to come back. Slowly start to retract your pistons. And using the old brake pad allows you to get nice even movement on both pistons, and you don't end up marring the surface of your piston either. Again, you go back pretty far because those are new pads, really big pads. Now if you waited a long time to change your pads out and they were mostly worn out, you may have to go really far back. Okay, I think that's good. Let's go ahead and get that off of there. Now that we got those pistons retracted, I'm going to go ahead and clean inside here, clean off those piston surfaces. Again, just want everything, get a nice clean. This is an area you don't get clean very often. You make sure nothing's leaking, everything's good. You don't want any kind of hydraulic leaks in your brake system, that's for sure. Good time to inspect your hose, making sure your hose is in good condition. No cracks, no dry rot, no leaks, everything's nice and dry. Now we should be able to slide right over our brake pads. Again, you want to push in your springs. Once you get your springs pushed in, it slides right over. Get that lined up. First bolt in. Lined up the bottom. Second bolt started. Make sure everything's nice and even. And wiggle around a little bit. And this is very easy on the Ford F-250. Front brakes are exactly the same way. I've done those already on this vehicle previously. That's why we didn't change them this time, because they were still good. I'm actually on the third set of pads on the front, and we're just now putting the second set of pads on the back. They definitely do not have as much stopping power and used as much as the front pads. All right, so we are hand tight, and you can see we got a nice spring movement. We just have the pistons on this side. Now we're going to tighten our caliper bolts. Get those in there. And get them even. Not doing them too tight yet. There we go. And with the breaker bar here, you can get a lot of torque, so you don't want to break anything. There we go. Do the bottom one more time. I'm not doing too much on these things. There we go. Do the top one now. There we go. Nice and tight. Everything should be good. Now we can get our pistons extracted out by turning the system on, the pump on, and having those pistons extend out. Before we turn the engine on, I want to show you, we press the brake pedal. It's going to go all the way to the floor, and that's going to see, it's just pressurizing the brake cylinder. Okay, now that those cylinders, we're getting that air out, pressurized. Now it's fully seated. Now we're going to turn the engine on, and that should turn on the brake fluid pump, and everything should be nice and tight. Okay, and I did that. Good. I went down some more. So now we're getting pressurized. Everything's good. Now that we've got the pads on, we've pressurized the system. The pistons are extended against the pads in the calipers, and now we're ready to the bedding procedure. More often than not, when you take your vehicle up to get the brake pads replaced, they're just putting new brake pads on and giving it back to you. They probably didn't put any grease on the pads themselves. They probably didn't replace the hardware. That's a good possibility, the clips. And almost certainly, they did not do the bedding procedure. The bedding procedure is to get a nice layer of brake pad material on your rotors. Now, if you're changing new rotors, obviously, you want to make sure this is done, because new rotors are just metal surface. When you apply the brake pad to the metal rotor, a little bit of that brake pad material coats under high heat that rotor surface, and that's what gives you a really good stopping power. Brake pad on metal really doesn't do that good a job. So it's very important with new rotors, but even with older rotors, when you're putting new pads on, the new pads are perfectly flat and they haven't been worn at all. Your old rotors have that surface material on there, but they may not have worn evenly. So doing this is bedding procedure is going to seat the new pads to the old rotors. The procedure to do this is super simple. We're going to get up to about 35 miles per hour and quickly slow down to about 5-10 miles per hour. We're going to do that 2 or 3 times, never coming to a stop, and making sure you're not slamming your brakes on when your ABS kicks in, but you also don't want to do it too slow either. What we're trying to do is heat the pad up very quickly and then let it cool down. Heat the pad up very quickly and then let it cool down. We're going to do that 2 or 3 times, 35 mile an hour down to 5 or 10. Then we're going to do it at 55 mile an hour down to 5 or 10. Again, not too quickly, not too slowly. And then after that, we're going to drive around for about 10 minutes, letting those pads cool. We're not going to apply the brakes. You need to make sure you're on a highway that's going to allow you to go those long distances without coming into a stoplight or a stop sign. Now, obviously, if a deer or a Sasquatch, Bigfoot jumps out, please stop. Don't hit it, because, well, Tim said, you know, we got to keep going, or otherwise we're going to mess our brakes up. Let's get on the road and bed these brakes. When you first drive down the road and you apply the brake a little bit, if you hear a massive grinding noise or something like that, you may have put the brake pad on wrong and the metal is facing towards the rotor. You don't want to do that. So if you hear a crazy, wild metal-to-metal grinding noise, stop the vehicle, check what's going on. Let's get out on the road here. And this is a 2017 F-250 Super Duty King Ranch 4x4. Been a really good vehicle. We got 124,000 miles on it right now. right, let's do our bedding procedure here for the first time. Get about 35 mile an hour. We'll slow down to about 5 mile an hour really quickly. There we go. That did it. It said 10 there, but a little lag in the digital gauge. You can see I went pretty quick. Things didn't go flying in the cab. We're going to do that a couple more times. Get about 35. Stop really quickly. There we go. Got down. Yeah, see, about red. You know, you don't want to stop. You don't want to have the brake pads applied to the rotor for any length of time during this, because they can actually melt to the rotor. You don't want to do that. This is a heat up, surface to the rotor, cool down, opened up. All right. Get about 35 mile an hour. We'll do this one more time. Slow down. All right. Yeah, this thing reads about 9 when you slow down, but we got down there. So now we're going to get around this curve. We're going to do the 55 mile an hour slow downs. Well, let's get about 55 mile an hour. Here we go, and slow down. Again, pretty quickly down to about, there we go. Yeah, remember our speedometer's got a little bit of a lag there. It almost stopped. Let's do that. Get up to about 55 again. There we go. 55 and slow down really quickly. Here we go. There we go. You get stuff flying around the cab, you know you've got it slowed down pretty quickly. Let's do that one more time. Come up here. Get about 55 mile an hour. Slow down. This is a good one right here. Oh yeah, we'll get down there. All right. That was pretty good. Again, we didn't put on new rotors. New rotors, again, you're surfacing those new rotors. Used rotors, old pads, you can do that a couple times, and we'll be changing the rotors out after that. Well, that was simple. Got our bedding procedure done 3 times down from 35 down to about 5 or 10. And then 3 times down from 55 to about 5 or 10. Didn't come to a complete stop, and we're going to drive now about 10 minutes, not coming to any stop signs, stop lights. I'm just going to do average highway speed and let these things cool down very, very nicely. Get back to the house, and we'll say goodbye to you there. Well, there you go. Changing the brakes on a Ford F-250 Super Duty 6.7 liter Power Stroke diesel. Pickup truck. We love this truck. 124,000 miles on it. We're on our 3rd set of front brakes, 2nd set of back brakes. Again, these front brakes are what do most of the work. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. If you haven't already, subscribe to RidgeLife. Hit the notification bell to be notified anytime a new video comes out. We've got a 6.4 liter SRT Dodge Durango we do maintenance on, a Kubota side-by-side. We've got a New Holland tractor, Arctic Cat 4x4, Polaris 4x4, Hustler lawnmower, and just 2 Ducati motorcycles, just all kinds of things we do maintenance on here on the Ridge. Plus we have chickens and rabbits and just basically country life. So if you want to, I hope everyone enjoyed the video, and until next time, I hope everyone has a blessed day, and go RidgeLife.